What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In this video, we're going to be talking about something really important. I think a lot of people would benefit from this, and that is how do we prepare for fusion? Now, I think this video is going to help out a lot of players here that are struggling to kind of make sense of how to do fusions in 2025. We know that fusions have been increasing in resources, and Plarium has been getting more and more tricky with the way they structure their events, which means we have to be extra careful with the way we spend our resources and the way we prepare. So this video, I want to try to break it down for you guys in layman's terms and try to get everybody, completing fusions on a regular basis whenever they want to. But first, I want to ask you guys, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's jump right into it. So first things first, we have to describe basically there's two different types of players. One that is actively playing the game and one that is kind of, just doing dailies and grinding and saving resources that way. So if you're more of a, casual player and you're just kind of saving up for, saving up your resources, letting your energy cap and all that stuff, you could be a spender, you could be a low spender or no spender. It doesn't really matter. It's just the play style that you kind of play with. Obviously, during a fusion, the biggest bottleneck is time. If you have no time to play the fusion actively, then you're going to be needing more resources banked up, and you don't really have a choice in how you can really prep. The way you prep is basically just stacking up all your resources. You're doing all your dailies, you're stacking up your energy, anything you pick up along the way, anything you feel like completing for your, prepping for your upcoming fusion, you basically just stack up. Obviously, you save up your inbox whenever you can, and then use that during the fusion. Now, like I said, if you're not actively playing, it's going to be difficult for you to complete the fusion in the first place. Also, from a resource standpoint, you're going to need more and more of it because you're probably going to use it less efficiently than somebody that's actively managing and actively playing the game. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to talk about players that are actively trying to navigate through fusions and how they are actively preparing for the upcoming fusion. So first things first, obviously, if you guys are trying to tackle fusions, you guys are looking to bring in some shards. Now, the easiest way to get shards is from Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss and from Nightmare Clan Boss. Make sure you guys can handle both of these clan bosses, getting double chests every day. If you want to, reliably have enough resources, mainly shards, to go into these fusions. The math behind it is that if you do both of these double chests every day, you're going to get about 10 sacred shards a month on average, and that should be more than enough to handle any fusion every month. Obviously, if your sole purpose was to save these shards just for fusions, you wouldn't have any issues, but of course, Plarium's going to try to entice you to spend your shards throughout the month. And it's up to you to kind of navigate through which ones you want to participate in and which ones you do not want to participate in. Obviously, we don't have infinite shards, so we have to be extra careful about spending our resources outside of fusions. So that's the first thing. And one of the most hardest to get resources for low spenders or no spenders is shards. So make sure you guys can handle Ultra Nightmare or Nightmare. Ideally, at least Nightmare. If you guys can do at least Nightmare, you guys will be picking up 3 to 4 sacred shards a month, double chesting it. And, that could give you a little bit of a basis to handle your first fusion, because you can kind of make 3 or 4 sacred shards work, but you ideally want to have 7 or 8 to start the fusion to be very comfortable. Generally, for fusion events, there are 2 summoning events. Sometimes they allow us to skip 1 summoning event, but often that doesn't happen. So having roughly 8 sacred shards worth of points for the summon rush event gives us a bit of flexibility. Now, on the topic of shards, if you don't have sacred shards, the unsung hero of this game is actually mystery shards. Mystery shards we get from grinding campaign. It's very important. As you're starting out as a new player, you want to have a good stock of mystery shards. Mystery shards provide you food for training, and that is also something that you guys should probably be doing in between fusions, setting up food and all that. Now, there's different ways to do it efficiently. If you're starting and progressing through the game, you're probably going to want to do campaign. Doing lots of campaign is not necessarily a bad thing. It produces lots of food. It gives your accounts more 60s. And as your account is kind of just progressing through the game, more 60s mean your account power is stronger, means you can progress easier. And of course, you have food along the way. While you're grinding food in campaign, you're going to be getting mystery shards. The mystery shards, like I said, they're like unsung heroes for this game because they give us plenty of points, especially for champion chase. And they give us a little bit of extra buffer room to complete summon events when we don't, have the luck, for example, of getting sacred shards or higher value shards from the clan boss in that given month. But with mystery shards, you have plenty of shards to pull for food. You have shards that you can contribute towards summon rush or champion chase, ideally champion chase, because you get a little bit more points for that. But definitely take advantage of that. Now, again, this is something for active players because you have to actually actively manage your mystery shards, basically process them and all that. However, Playdom has made quality of life changes, in the, not so distant past, that now we can, process mystery shards a lot faster. Make sure you guys are checking the market every time you're in the game, and make sure you guys are buying mystery shards. Like me as an end game player, I still do this. This is basically just habit baked into my gameplay. I always come into the market every hour or whenever I see it, and then I always buy the mystery shards. It's just normal. Another thing that you guys can kind of consider using in your normal gameplay is actually buying some of these 2-star champions in the market. Usually I target the ones that are 39,000 instead of 49,000. But if you guys are low on shards, these extra little champions here that you guys can buy from the market actually help out during, obviously champion training events. And prepping some of these, in between your downtime for fusions, actually, just a resource conscious thing to do. All right, so now that we know how many shards we're going to need for upcoming fusions, like I said, 7 or 8 sacred shards, and then a bunch of mystery shards should be fully covered. If you have other things that you can bring to the fusion, such as fragment summons, for example, they're really good just for extra points. You could also save up some rares to do the Relic Keeper. I don't really recommend doing the Relic Keeper ones because it's not really that much points, but doing the Broad Maul ones are really nice, but they do require Void rares. Make sure you guys are holding a lot of these Void rares so that you can fuse your Broad Mauls. Broad Mauls are worth 350 points during the champion chase, which is pretty decent value. And having some of these guys ready takes pressure off of your shards, right? So next time you guys are doing like 2x void pulls, don't be disappointed if you guys pick up some of these rares. Obviously they're going to be helpful somewhere down the line to help you fuse Broad Mauls. All right, so we talked about how to deal with these summon events during fusions. Now, how are we going to have the energy to deal with potentially 3 dungeon divers? Now, 3 dungeon divers is approximately, 15 to 17,000 energy. That's over 2 weeks time. But sometimes the dungeon divers are very concentrated, so you will need extra energy for those, short couple of days for dungeon divers. So how do we stack up resources so that we can prepare ourselves to do fusions? Mainly having energy. So gems are a great resource for energy, so make sure you guys save up your gems. Don't cash your gems in for energy or anything outside of basically events that goes towards the fusions, for example, if you guys are that strapped for resources. Another big tip that I try to advocate for people that watch my videos is basically taking resources when you absolutely have to. So what I mean by this is refer to my red dots. So my red dots are basically like evergreen resources. They don't have expiration dates. When resources hit your inbox, they have expiration dates and they start counting down. So for me, what I like to do is basically collect resources at the absolute last moment or when I'm ready to use that resource. So for example, I have this energy pot here. I can easily collect it, but that's going to overcap me at 200. And then either I spend my energy down on something that I don't need to do right now because I don't need to spend my energy right now. Or on the flip side, I let this sit. Basically, I have until the rest of the day to collect this and let my energy regen naturally. So I get an extra little bit of boost there. That's just one small example. So another example of this is something like this. So in my weeklies here, I haven't collected my energies yet. I have a couple days to do so. So I'll make sure to collect that first for an upcoming event where I need extra energy. And then here's another example. Basically, I have energy here in my gear enhancement event that I haven't collected. So 50 and 200. I'll save this until I absolutely have to. And if I don't need to collect it from here, it will go straight to my inbox and then I will have 7 days to collect it there. So you can really kind of, set yourself up so that you can have additional resources for a period of time, right? Like usually like a week or so, and then you can just collect those which are expiring or which are the closest to expiring. Then you can collect those resources on top of obviously saving long-term energy pots and promos and all that stuff. You're gonna have some decent amount of energy going into the start of the fusion. And like I said, if you guys are actively playing during the fusion, you guys will be accumulating your daily energies energy pot, your daily advanced quest. You're also cycling through your regenerated energy. You get 20 energy per hour. That's 480 energy a day if you're constantly on top of your regeneration energy. 480 energy a day, that's basically, that's grinding campaign to make 3 level 40 food champions, right? Like, that's every day. Like, that's pretty substantial, right? And you don't need to be like fully in the game all the time. You just need to be in the game like once every 6 hours, run down your energy, and then that's it, if you wanted to be that diligent about it. But I'm just saying that as an example of how it works. Other examples of saving resources, for example, I can save this 100 energy from Live Arena, for example. Hop on out, we go to Cursed City. So right here, I'm actually saving some of my my gear removal tokens. I'm saving some energy stages here. And once I need them, then I'll go and clear these stages and pick up the energy so I can use them right away. Something else you can also do is basically go to the clan shop. This week for us, we have the energy here. I'm not going to collect this until I absolutely need to use this. I have 5 days to do so. So it does give me a bit of time, of course. And things like, ongoing events. So for example, the Titan event here, I do have some resources here. I have this 1-star soul. So if there was a soul chase event, I can collect it and get some additional resources that way. The coalition event that's going on right now, again, it's just an ongoing event. I'm saving some resources here because it's going to be here available for almost 2 weeks. So here I got 5 energy pots. And then here I got 10 energy pots. So for example, like this just gives me a lot of extra flexibility for, energy if I need to use it coming up. On top of that, we have clan versus clan. So clan versus clan, you can also save this as well. If you guys don't collect this, all of this goes into your inbox, which gives you additional time to collect it. So you don't feel pressure to collect these right away and then you're forced to kind of use them or just cap yourself. Just let them go to your inbox and then use them as you need them. Obviously, you use them before they expire. This would also apply to personal rewards as well. Those rewards will also go to your inbox and you have 7 days to use them up. Hopefully you guys can incorporate some of that into your gameplay. Now, what else do you need to prepare as you look towards the next fusion? Silver is a big thing, right? Silver means you have to actively be playing the game and actively be accumulating silver. You can't really accumulate silver by not playing the game, right? So you have to play the game by, basically doing dungeons. A big thing is actually doing faction wars. If you do faction wars and collect the materials all the time, then you can actually participate and use the forge. Using the forge means you're crafting gear, and this makes you silver very, very quickly if you need to. But it's not just about faction wars materials. You also need this Magi steel, which means you need to be active in classic arena, because this is basically the only spot where you can actually get Magi steel. So here you can get your farm on, get the Magi steel so that you can craft, and crafting will help alleviate some of your silver requirements. Going into a fusion, I'm probably recommending you, at least 10 million to start. I think if you're going in with 1 million, that's a little bit of crisis zone. You're going to be in a tough spot, on your first gear enhancement event. Unless you have a ton of energy, and then you can just farm dungeons and try to build up silver that way. But generally, there's going to be 3 enhancement events during a fusion. That's about, 60 million silver over 2 weeks. It's quite a bit. That's why I say you always want to start off with a little bit to give yourself some breathing room. You're going to accumulate silver throughout the entire fusion if you're active through it. If you're grinding the dungeons, spending your energy, you're going to be accumulating silver, which is going to alleviate some of the cost along the way. But like I said, you're going to need 60 million over 2 weeks. You ideally want to start with some. So make sure you guys are farming campaign. Campaign gives you pretty good silver. For example, I prefer 12-3 on brutal. I prefer the shields. Gives you a little bit more silver. The boot stage 6 gives you a little bit more XP, but I think it's kind of negligible both ways. I prefer the silver over the small bit of XP. Campaign's great. Campaigns allows you to build up food, get mystery shards, grind silver. It does a lot. So make sure you guys are in campaign quite a bit. Once you guys are more progressed into the later stages of your account, you guys can start doing dungeons, spend the energy in dungeons, start grinding gear. It also grinds silver. And then if you have champions that can grind food as well, that's basically, doing everything at once. You grind gear, silver, food, And that's really where you want to be. So for example, we have a Sand Devil tournament right now. I'm grinding up food with, my 2 champions here, and I'm grinding up 3 food. So I'm getting everything from this. I'm getting the resource, I'm getting silver, I'm getting food. But obviously when you're a new account trying to progress through, you're going to be doing a lot of campaign, and that's totally fine. Like I said, when you're building up food, building up more 60s, your account gets stronger, things get easier, you start progressing more, you start getting more resources back. All right, so we talked quickly about shards, we talked quickly about energy management, we talked quickly about silver. Let's talk a little bit about training. So in the training tavern here, what you guys want to do is basically prioritize using things like the brew during training events. Now, the best thing about the brew is that it basically takes pressure off your energy so that you can use the energy for something else. The brew doesn't really have value anywhere in this game except for in the tavern, except during training events. So if you guys are low in energy, use the brews to compensate and help out your energy stores a little bit. Make sure you guys don't use your brews like basically haphazardly. Make sure you guys use them very efficiently. What I want to do is basically you want to use the brews on champions that you guys are going to feed. So for example, on a 3-star champion, usually 1 brew, and that's good enough to feed. He's level 10. If you guys are doing a 4-star food, for example, put 4 brews into her. This gives you the maximum amount of XP and points per brew spent. So this way it conserves your brews. Obviously using brews costs you silver as well, so there is a drawback to that, whereas spending energy in campaign generates silver. So you do want to basically have a little bit of balance as well. So where do we get brews from? Most of your brews on a daily basis will come from clan boss, so make sure you guys are doing all your chests. So what I do 4 clan boss hits per day at least. So I do everything because even though I can hit Ultra Nightmare, Brutal, Hard, I occasionally get a Void Shard from Hard, and then you still pick up a couple gems, you pick up some brews and all that. So any resource is going to be good. Make sure you guys do all that if you can. Use up all your clan boss keys as diligently as you can. You'll thank me later when you get more brews. Another quick tip here is actually the value of void rares. The value of void rares here. So what happens is when you're progressing through this game, you actually stock up void brews pretty frequently. So the value of void rares, so that you can use the brews on them, goes up. So don't just feed off your void rares without putting some brews into them. Maybe you want even want to just use the brews to fully level them up. It is a little bit wasteful on the amount of brews that you're spending, but if this conserves energy that you can use in your dungeon farming, or your to complete your dungeon divers, doing spider or whatever, then the brews would have served a purpose. So I just want to highlight some additional value here for the void rares, and then obviously the relationship with the void brews. Make sure you guys keep an eye on that. While we are in the tavern, I wanted to make a quick comment about books. Any kind of booking of champions, generally the advice is to do it during CVC. So during CVC, you get quite a bit of points for booking champions here. Let's have a quick look here. So ascending, upgrading, perfect souls. Oh, here we go. Upgrading champion skills. So you get quite a bit of value here from booking champion skills during CVC. So that's the first tip. The second tip is to use the books during training tournaments. Now there's 2 different types of training events. One is in the event tab. There's a training event, and then there is a training tournament. Now the training tournament gives you points for books. So if you're having a lot of trouble finishing off your training tournament, saving books for training tournaments can help you finish a fusion if you need to. Otherwise, you use the bookings for CVCs for CVC points. It just depends what is more important to you at that time, or what is more critical to you. But that is an option for you guys if you guys wanted to save the books for a champion tournament. Something else you guys should also save is artifact enhancement. All artifact enhancement has to happen during enhancement events, ideally during fusions if you guys are that starved for silver. Now, if you guys didn't know already, accessories cost more to level up, so I would avoid leveling up accessories if you guys are strapped on silver. Also, it is important to know that leveling them to 16 gives you a lot of points, but it's also very, very expensive. It's also the most time efficient. However, the most cost-effective method outside of using the airplane trick is leveling up many artifacts to low levels, so whether it be +4 or +8, and then selling them off, and then you'll mainly make a net even after that. Obviously, that is the most time-consuming method, but is the cost-effective way of doing the artifact enhancement. So what I used to do in the past was basically I would farm campaign, I would save all the pieces of gear that I get from campaign, and I would level all of those up to 4 or 8, sell those off so that I break even on the silver, and then repeat. It would just take a really, really long time. Obviously, we all like to instantly make, points by doing, items up to 16. But if you're strapped on silver, you're going to have to do it the hard way sometime. But make sure you guys save all your gear enhancement for these fusion gear enhancements. There's going to be usually 3 per each fusion. And again, this is a strategy for active players during fusions. Notice how I also save unrolled gear in my inventory just for, stuff like that. I want to roll them up regardless of what kind of stats they have, just for some easy, cheap points. That's one way I conserve silver for my accounts. Obviously, actively managing your gear stash is going to give you back a bit of silver as well. If you're actively cleansing off your gear inventory, you're going to get a bunch of silver that you otherwise wouldn't have had. Also, if you guys are just active throughout the game, you guys will be picking up numerous pieces of gear throughout the entire game. So for example, if you guys are doing the classic arena here, you're going to get some additional gear here. This is just free silver, a couple 100,000 silver right there. If you guys are doing all of your boss fights in Doom Tower, you're going to get some additional crafting materials so that you guys can get some more silver back. Same thing with the secret rooms, same thing. Obviously participating in Hydra, Hydra, Curse City, Siege, you're going to get some additional gear back. Even if it's bad, it's still silver back. And also you can just use it as basically artifact enhancement fodder. Just, cheaply level them up for some cheap points and then sell them off. All right, so we talked about shards, shard management, energy management, silver management, tavern management. And I think the last thing we need to talk about is just general preparedness and general knowledge and how comfortable you are navigating a fusion. So first things first, you need this is the fusion calendar. Ideally, you don't need to know this inside and out. I understand most people are not going to revolve their life around this schedule, of course. That's not realistic, but at least have this on your browser somewhere, right, so that you can refer to it every here and there. It's just easier to look at this as opposed to looking in the game and then trying to figure out what's actually happening. And having this schedule allows you to basically look ahead as well, to kind of mentally prepare, like, hey, this day I probably should be looking out for this and doing this. Even just taking that little bit of prepared thought, it actually really, really helps. Obviously, if you're going to watch like a content creator or have somebody help you with coming up with a plan on how to tackle this, that'll be even better. Or obviously try for yourself. How would you tackle this based on what you can do, right? But having this available readily, in front of you or while you're playing the game is actually very helpful. I definitely recommend everybody be just more familiar with the fusion schedule. Finally, I want to hammer home this thought about being prepared. Now, if you guys are going into the fusion and then thinking, maybe I'll try to do the fusion without actually thinking about how you're actually going to do it, I think that's a recipe for disaster usually, especially if you're very low on resources. Spending your resources to get like pieces of a fusion and then not completing it, I think is a little bit wasteful. So it's always good to have, something planned out in your mind, especially when the fusion starts. Say, hey, I'm going to be, kind of stuck here. How can I prepare for this? Or is it even viable for me because, hey, I'm going to my friend's wedding or I'm going on vacation? Is it even viable for me to even attempt this? And if it's not, it's okay, right? Life happens. But we have to be real with ourselves with, expectations and all that. And we can't really just blame Plarium all the time if we fail a fusion, for example, because whatever happened, right? Not saying that Plarium is not to blame for a lot of stuff, but sometimes we have to be like, okay, my bad. I kind of messed this up, or I wasn't expecting this, or I didn't plan for this. But just wanted to throw that out there. We do, schedule planning and fusion planning on this channel. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe so you guys can come back for that content if you guys are interested in doing fusions. And that's going to be it for this video. So hopefully you guys are now fusion experts and how to be prepared for your next upcoming fusion. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comments below if it was. Let me know if I missed anything out critical towards preparing for upcoming fusions. Would love to hear about that in the comments below. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Thanks a lot for watching until the end. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.